Yo, this is Seth. Welcome to That's Effin' Weird. We are a podcast that centers around a whole plethora of subjects: cryptids, paranormal, conspiracy theories. We have game shows. We even had Charles Manson host our Halloween episode. If you like weird, then come on over to That's Effin' Weird. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Just go ahead, check it out. The link is right there. It's That's Effin' Weird. We're on all major platforms: Spotify, Apple. We're a great podcast. Trust me.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am your pal, Grindhouse Zombie. I am joined by Lily, and
Hey.
we're talking about things that are effing weird. Now, Lily had a last-minute pivot based on some news, and I did some research, and I was so genuinely creeped out that there was no way that I was going to miss this. So, Lily, give us a little bit of an idea what we might be talking about tonight.
So thank you for this intro. I have been so intrigued by this character for the longest time. Some of you may know about her. Others may have just heard of the name. She's been a character, a contestant, a personality on a pretty popular TV show called Dance Mom, also related to the Abby Lee Miller dance competition. Her name is JoJo Siwa, and I'm going to talk about her tonight because she's been in the news lately in the internet drama sphere, and it's just been very interesting to learn about her early life and moving on to Dance Mom and later in her career. Can you believe she's now 20 years old? She's just about to turn 21. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've known about the character, as you call it, for, I guess for years. It's never been part of my personal sphere, thank God.
Yeah.
So like I said, I did some quick research on this, just to, familiarize myself with what was going on. And there are so many things here that are so problematic for me. And I'm going to do my best to not be judgmental, because I don't think any one of us has the right to say what's right for anybody else. But this whole pageant, dance moms, making your 6-year-old a star thing has got to be one of the damn creepiest things I've ever seen in my life. It seems like one of those things where you're driving to the competition and there's just a windowless white van following you all the time. You know what I mean? So that in and of itself just gives me the creeps. Now, I know that there's been a lot of people that have gone this path. Some maybe a tad more righteously than others, but at the same time, the weird part is that it always seems to end up in a certain place. And
yes,
that certain place.
It's hard not to make the connection. I agree with that.
Yeah, so you have to wonder, and this is just me thinking as a parent, why as a parent, when you've seen all these other people that came before your child end up either broke and destitute or, under some sort of conservatorship because they've lost their damn mind, or going into a different segment of life where they're doing things that a lot of us would consider maybe not the best of things. Why as a parent would you push your kid into this? And that's maybe the creepiest part of it for me.
Yes. I've tried to think about her mom. I'll talk about her a little bit here, but it's hard not to think of her as just a greedy woman. And I'm sure at some point, and she probably still does love her children. She has two daughters. But it's very hard to think about everything that she's put her children and JoJo in particular through, all through those years, decades of, indirectly or directly verbal abuse, and just generally being in an environment that's not good for a child. It can be.
Well, I think as a parent, it's not a rare or an odd thing to want to live vicariously through your children. But at the same time, I think it's also more based on wanting your kids to succeed and to reach heights that you didn't reach.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine the mother of JoJo Siwa probably didn't experience a lot of the same things, and what some of these things that, I mean, they're almost akin to torture from what I've read. Like, why would you do that to your kid? Why would you not want them to maybe take a different path? And I'm sure you're going to get into it, but I have so many questions, and to be perfectly honest, I want to slap so many people involved in this. It's just ridiculous.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It seems like there's really two categories you can fall into when you are talking or thinking about JoJo Siwa. You either think that she's a victim of her circumstances, of her experiences, or that she's a tryhard and everything that she's doing even today is just perpetuating this environment of just verbal abuse, overworking children, televised abuse, and just generally not being nurturing and what you would expect from someone that's she's been through it.
Well, it certainly sounds that way, and I always struggle with the word victim. And I struggle with it because I think everybody uses it these days. And because so many people use it, I think it becomes one of those words where you hear it and you just sort of dismiss it and you don't think about it. And I think it does ultimately a great disservice to people that truly are victims. Now, for the record, I don't know a ton about this person. I only have seen, the personality, we'll call it. So it's very possible that there was some things that were, untoward and questionable and whatever else. But it's so many people play the victim card these days that it's hard for me to not necessarily care, but even to listen in the first place. It's just like, I don't have time for this. It's
lost a lot of value. I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, and it's unfair to people that actually are victims, and that's I have some thoughts on this person. Let's get into what you're going to tell us, and then I will. they'll come up as they need to.
Yes. So a little bit about her family, just so that we know who is who as we're talking about those characters. JoJo Siwa, her real name Joel Jenny Siwa, JoJo, was born in 2003, which, oh my goodness, I still can't believe it. Makes me feel old. In Nebraska. Her mom, Jesselyn, born Lombardi and then married to Tom Siwa. She's very involved into her life and into her stardom. She herself is a professional dance instructor, so she's more aware than just someone that's completely out of the world of dance and professional dancing. Her father was a chiropractor, and she does have one sister, Jaden. It's a lovely family, pretty much a postcard of people that should be happy in this world. She's always been very gifted when it comes to dancing and just expressing herself and her creativity. She joins the Abby Miller dance company, later called Dance Moms. It's a TV reality show that's been through so many seasons, through so much drama and characters that are pretty unforgettable. If you look up on YouTube any compilation of the biggest fights or the tears or the most beautiful dances, Dance Moms is gonna come up, and they are a compilation of everything that you can think of. It's a huge show. The instructor that was the flagship of this show was Abby Lee Miller, and she's a character. You may not remember her name, but I'm sure if you saw her picture, you would know. Shorter lady with big brown hair, a loud voice. Seemingly, she's always screaming at someone or somebody. She's always upset, especially when they don't end up being on the first place. If they're second, it's not good. They're definitely gonna be yelled at, the children and the mothers. I remember myself watching Dance Moms being young and being entertained. And it's funny now looking back and just being like, I'm not sure this is what children should be watching. I am not sure. It's very intense show. And it's just a lot of screaming. Yeah, it's intense. It's very intense.
Well, I mean,
Mhm.
oh, I was gonna say, you really can't talk about her in all these pageantry shows without thinking of a certain young lady, and I think you know the name. And I don't want to sidetrack us.
Are you talking about Honey Boo Boo?
No, I'm talking about Jean Benet Ramsey.
Oh goodness, yes.
And so even another,
what a tragic case.
Yeah, probably a whole different topic for That's Effing Weird.
And that could be an entire episode by itself.
Oh, easily. So I mean, when it comes to these, and this is an honest question. So I mean, answer it as either honestly, or if you can't answer it, that's fine too. What has to be inside of a person that this becomes what they strive for? Like, this is their goal. And I tend to think, and I think this because my wife does ballet, right? And she's now 34, and she still does her ballet classes twice a week. She likes to get into productions when she can. But I mean, even she says she knew when she was very young, she was, much as she loved it, she was never going to be a professional dancer. So what pushes somebody down this path? And maybe the more important question is, what makes a person stay on it? Because it's like, the little bit that I've seen about this, it's like, it seems like this young lady can dance pretty well, and she's definitely done that piece of it. I hate to say this, but I saw a music video she did today. I saw it, and she can't sing for shit. So
it's not great.
So I don't, it's weird to me how this turns into like a pop career. So I mean, going from the start, what motivates somebody to do this?
If I had to take a guess, I think that at the basis of it, dancing is just a beautiful way to express oneself. And I mean, it's just an outlet for your creativity. I totally understand that. Now, going into the competition side of things and trying to make a career out of it and just striving for this level of stardom, that I'm not sure what it takes to reach that level. But I can also understand that showing the world how you want to express what you want to express, and just showing what you're capable of and what you're feeling, trying to pass those emotions. I get that. I can understand that. Coming from, I was never gifted in dancing, to be 100% honest, but I consider myself to be an somewhat okay singer. And I've always strived to just write and just let those emotions out. And at some point, it wasn't enough to just have them on paper, and I needed to communicate those emotions. So I can understand wanting to show the world what you're capable of, and that comes with, fame, stardom, striving for bigger things. So I can understand that. But yeah, I'm not sure when it becomes too much and detrimental to detrimental to a child and to their dreams of, is this too much? Are we striving for something that's just going to destroy you at the end of the day? Or are you just doing it for the art?
Okay, so that makes me think of a couple of things. And if you're someone who is an aspiring singer, gauntlet thrown down, Lily needs to record a new theme song for That's Effing Weird.
Oh, damn. I'll do it. I'll do it.
The second piece of it, and the gauntlet's down. You're gonna have to try. The second piece of it is this one of those things that's walking the fine line between somebody trying to express talent, and then you use the phrase "trying to show the world." And I
Mhm.
think that's interesting because is it someone trying to show their talent or is it someone who just wants to get clicks and by getting clicks gets money?
Mhm. That I am not sure. It must be a very fine line to tread.
Well, for all I've read about this young lady and all the things that she's
Mhm.
done, at this point, I mean, she has to have a massive net worth. I mean, she just has to, and for,
I can only imagine. I didn't look it up, but she's incredibly talented. From the get-go, when she joins in ALDC and Dance Mom, she is incredibly talented. She is a pretty young lady. She's talented. She is a little bit witty. She has some confidence. She has a little bit of attitude. Very quickly, the edits make her and her mom out to be the bad guys or, the villains. They're a little bit too talented, too confident. So their sassiness is just kind of edited as the villain. I'm sure if you watch reality TV show, those kind of edits that can make someone look even worse, making a mountain of the smallest of the little things. But yeah, from the get-go, JoJo and her mom make a incredible impression on the show. I'll just share some pictures along so that we can see the progression. Her mother, Jesseline, she's very involved and she defends JoJo when needs be. She will talk back to Abby Lee Miller and ask her, why is JoJo not on the top of the pyramid? Why doesn't she have a solo? Why this? Why are you treating Maddie, another character that became very famous after Dance Mom, why are you treating Maddie Ziegler better than JoJo? So I appreciate that she takes her daughter's career so seriously, but I wish that energy was directed towards protecting her and her development. I will say that.
well,
Mhm.
okay, so two things. So I looked up her net worth just because I was curious, and from everything I'm reading right now, it stands at an estimated $20 million.
Wow.
Now, I think in the entertainment world, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. But at the same time, $20 million is more money than most people are ever going to see in their lifetimes.
Yes.
And so, going back to the old adage of money can't buy happiness. I think that's probably true, but I also think that money can at least rent happiness for a while. But I have to wonder, just because she's just turned 20, and I know a lot of the things that she was doing before were when she was still a teenager. I mean, so I wonder how much of that money is actually in mom's purse versus hers. And then does that play a part in both her trying to so radically change her image? Because, she kind of comes off in a lot of her, we'll say, last 5 years things as kind of a borderline insane toddler, where she's dressed in sparkles and has this wild ponytail and whatever else, but her energy comes off to me like somebody who is bipolar. That's what it comes off to me as. And I'm not knocking anybody who's bipolar. My father was bipolar, so trust me, I'm not knocking it. But the energy level is something I kind of understand. But so I wonder, how much of the whole thing, how much of the umbrella plan was about money. And I don't know, it seems like for everything that I've read and all of the, we'll call it, changes in her life and the different times that she's tried to, you used the term rebrand earlier. She tried to rebrand herself or to be something different. All these things also magically coincide with when her popularity was fading a little bit. So, I wonder how much the almighty dollar is driving that.
We will see along, as I'm talking about her life and her career, that her mom is very incredibly involved into her life. So as I've said in Dance Moms, she's always been defending her daughter and just making sure that she's fairly treated, or even sometimes going just a little bit further and making sure the other contestant know that JoJo had an extra point or two compared to the other dancers, and she simply did better and she placed higher. JoJo and her mom will stay in Dance Mom until the second half of season 6. But after that, they will go on to signing a deal with Nickelodeon, and she'll be involved with them in the decades after that. Up until today, she's still loosely related to Nickelodeon, so she was thrown into stardom and celebrity status at very, very young age. At that point, she will leave Dance Mom and distance herself from the show. And just a side note, Abby Lee Miller, she's always been very vocal about the other participants after they leave briefly or after they leave completely the show. And it is interesting to see that she will not really make comments about JoJo or her mom when they leave her show. Nothing against her fame or her newfound stardom, celebrity status. She's always been pretty passive on that front. Now that may be linked to another reason why JoJo and her mom left Dance Mom. They suffered a loss in their family due to cancer. Jesselyn's mom, if I remember correctly, JoJo's grandma passed away, and that's when they left. And Abby Lee Miller also had someone in her family, her mom, pass away from cancer. So that may be why she's just giving them that grace and not really bad-mouthing them after they left. Another side note, while on the show, before we leave Dance Mom and Abby Lee Miller, this is around this time where JoJo Siwa gets acquainted with another very problematic character, at least in the internet zeitgeist, and that is Colleen Ballinger. You may have heard of the name if you spend any amount of time on social media. She's very controversial. As far as I'm concerned, I think legally everything is still alleged, so I won't make any definitive statement, but she's been involved in very off-putting, inappropriate behaviors with minors. I won't go any further than that. We could do an entire episode on Colleen Ballinger and the allegations and accusations that have been thrown her way. She has yet to fully address those allegations and accusations, but they did involve being inappropriate with minors. And at the time, JoJo was a minor. She was 12, 13, 14, and that's when she came into Colleen Ballinger's life. So that's something to note. Have you heard anything about Colleen Ballinger at all?
I have. The things that I have all heard are outrageously negative.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like you. I would probably not comment, and mostly because I just don't know enough. I'm not learned enough to truly comment. It's the hard part about it. I mean, and it's accusations, allegations, etc. I mean, and the hard part with these is somebody says something once, you kind of go, well, maybe, right? Because you're a human being and you're like, well, maybe. But then another person and another person and another person. I tend to believe that where there's smoke, there's fire. So what I understand is there's a lot of talk of grooming and things like that. And this is, an adult who was effectively making content for kids, but with kids, which inherently in and of itself isn't necessarily bad. Every boy band and whatever else had a grown-up manager, right? So I get that. But there's a lot of things that seem a little, we'll just call it untoward. And it does look like our friend Seth has popped in. Seth, how are you tonight?
Hey.
Yo, what up? We're this is a dual icon. We're in a remote location. I'm
Oh,
super nauseous from experimenting on myself with weird research chemicals. So we're gonna hang in there, and we're gonna be a part of this. Love you guys. And we're gonna listen.
all right. I'm happy to have you on board. If you need the emergency services, just let us know somehow. We'll figure it out. All right. We'll
Will
rescue
do.
you if anything happens.
So,
I
so
got it. I got it.
Seth is in his underground bunker in the woods, experimenting with the wild mushrooms he found in the same woods. Okay.
All right. Okay.
should be interesting in the comments. If you guys, to get you up to speed, our topic tonight is the internet sensation JoJo Siwa, and her life and times, and her very recent rebranding, which we will get to eventually. And wow is all I can say to the rebranding.
Yes. Oh my goodness. If you want to follow along, I'm posting pictures as well of her progression in her career in the podcast photos channel. So feel free to follow along. So right now where we are in the story is right around 2016 when JoJo and her mom leave Dance Moms. And she is just catapulted into fame, celebrity status. We're an internet sensation, a television sensation. She has signed a consumer deal with Nickelodeon. She will do merch and a collaboration with Claire's. You may have seen the very sparkly bows bedazzled with rainbows and suns and all of it. Very, very effective marketing efforts from her team, her mom, I'm assuming as well. Very effectively recognizable, just pretty looking young woman with blonde hair, bright smile, sparkle in the eye, and a huge bow on top of her head. She has been a role model and a fashion forward person at very early in her career. Very early. And 2016, so she would be 13, 14, around that age. So I think it's easy to say that most of her net worth has been built around that time because it was a sensation, incredibly popular. I'm pretty sure I read that in the United Kingdom, they ended up banning the bows in certain schools because it was just becoming a frenzy. Girls and children being completely peer pressured into purchasing bows to be within the trend and not being bullied, or simply losing focus and chatting and talking about the bows and the trend. So it truly became a sensation. It was very successful marketing, branding, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I saw they sold somewhere on the order of 60 million of those
Mhm.
bows. And you got to
It's
think
incredible.
$5 a piece or something, maybe $10 a piece. I mean, I mean that's some real money. I mean that's like a real world thing. And then kind of what you were saying too about it becoming a phenomenon. You know, I was lucky that my youngest kid was just old and just on the cusp of being old enough to not be interested, just because you know, for kids that were 2 years younger than my oldest, I could see it was just ridiculous. Just it's just a complete phenomenon and absolutely ridiculous. I'm glad I didn't have to get involved in that crap because that would have made me mad to spend $10 on a sparkly bow. But at the same time, from what I've read here too, they are saying that she has had a lasting effect on, say, going to Target or you know, whatever your other local shop is, and going down the toy aisle, and everything now is nauseatingly vibrant colors, covered in glitter and sparkles and all those other things. And I have to wonder, and this is just me being me, because I think you guys know that by trade, my wife is an engineer. She's far more educated than I am. She's far smarter than I am. And so when I think of women and what women can do, I honestly always think that there are no bounds. I think women can do anything. Anything that men can do, and to be perfectly honest, probably better. I wonder if this JoJo Siwa effect honestly has set women back quite a ways. And it feels like I'm just gonna say what I think here. It feels like an attempt to turn them into morons. And I'm not a big fan of that. So like I always hate to see when something that ends up in our social construct that seems in a way degrading. And I think all this bright sparkly shit, I mean, maybe if you're 6, yeah, okay, bright spark, that's fine. When you get to be a teenager, I mean, come on. I mean, what is it with this stuff? I just don't get it. It feels like a way to put people into a corner and say, these are the things that you should like. And if you like something else, then there's something wrong with you. And that honestly kind of bugs me.
I understand that point of view. I've always felt kind of off about this trend, maybe simply because I don't like bright colors that much. Personally, I find it pretty infantilizing. And again, this was mostly for teens and kids, but it's just, I'm not sure that that it's for me, simply put. Simply not sure it's for me. At that point, she will also put out a makeup line. I believe it was a makeup palette that she tried to launch, but that was kind of a flop, and quickly it was recalled because, if I remember correctly, it contained asbestos, and that's no go. We don't do that. So the makeup line was quickly shut down.
I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. So, so like the whole bow thing, I'm definitely not a fan of like crazy bright colors. I mean, like, either I've only recently started liking pink, but it's like pale pink, like kind of more pastels. But definitely keeping it appeal to like young kids, like girls, because I definitely was a little girl once, and I definitely had a lot of ponies, had a lot of dinosaur toys when I was a kid. I didn't really like Barbie. But if you got me like a sparkling unicorn toy, that was it. I was like, oh yeah, that's the good stuff. But I guess I remember when he was really getting popular. I guess it was like on TikTok. I'm not really sure what app it was, but he was just like, but she was like being really hyper and just kind of talking how she does. But I recognize now she was a kid, so it was just, I didn't get really annoyed by it. I just didn't I didn't understand. I'm sure there's things that, I know there were things that I grew up and was into that did not, my mom was just like, I don't like I was really into Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and like a lot of anime stuff. My mom would call Sailor Moon Donut Mouth because of how big her mouth was. Just because anime is very, is just very, extreme sometimes with the facial expressions. But I definitely understand that this is something that maybe our generation doesn't understand. But also, I also think it's really weird when parents put their kids in the spotlight. It's just weird to me. I don't like YouTube families or anything like that, or like these or whatever, or like the dance thing, like he did. I was like, there's nothing wrong with like having your kids do those extracurricular things. It's just like it kind of feels like forced by the parents in a way to me. But
and it's like at some point it becomes so detrimental to the child. They're not the one logging into whichever platform the video or post is posted on. They're not the one editing or doing any of that. They're just the front. They're like a puppet almost. Behind the scene, you have the parent that, in my opinion, is exploiting their child or children. It's sad. It's really, really sad. And I'm happy in a way that my parents were already too old to put me in any kind of social media or posting pictures and any of that. Because where do you draw the line? What is privacy mean? Some moments I don't think are meant to be published and liked and shared. Here's another topic that I considered today. Oh goodness, now I'm gonna forget the name. Shoot. I'll describe it, and I'm sure listeners, if you've heard of the story, please put the name in the comments if it's on a platform that allows it. Oh, there it is. Ren Eleanor. That was the name. It's an account run by a mom and her daughter. I think she's 5 or 4 years old, and the mom posts videos of her daughter in sometimes innocent, sometimes not so innocent. Not most of the time, but some other times, inappropriate positions or inappropriate settings. And it's all under the guise of, we're just doing a digital scrapbook of everything my daughters go through on a day-to-day basis. But it's bad. It's really, really bad. The amount of time that the TikToks and Reels are saved, it makes no sense. Because it's a little girl that's wearing a cute outfit, and you have this portion of her audience that, in my opinion, is way too big, making those reels and those posts inappropriate and just it's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And if I had any kind of say in it, I wish the mom would just delete the account, because clearly her daughter is being used for some kind of perverted purpose, and it's gross.
Yeah, it's like they're probably making it some kind of, they're probably getting some money from it, I'm sure. It's like that Ryan Boy review or something like that. There was a show of this kid who, like, they got a killing off that. There's like toys and Target and things like that. Different situations. I don't believe he's exploited in an inappropriate way, but I mean, like, he's definitely exploited for the views, for the channel. Like, I mean, my nephew, I believe, watched those videos too. I just think there's something very strange about parents putting their kids at the forefront of in the internet, social media. Like, it's just not cool to make money off your kids like that. It's just like child actors. And how they grow up pretty messed up sometimes. Most of the time, I think. And well, I've debated, like, with myself, if I ever have children, would I even want to post a picture of them on my social media? And, like, because it's just, I don't know, something about it makes me uncomfortable, because I don't want perverts looking at, my future potential kids.
I agree. And you bringing up the child actor setting, I think this is almost textbook what's going on with JoJo, what she's been through in her childhood. Of course, I don't have all the behind the scenes. I don't know everything. I don't know what they were talking about when the cameras were off. But what it looks like, what it feels like, is that her mom, Jesslyn, was more of her manager, and JoJo was the agent, was the talent. So at that point, where do you draw the line between, I'm doing this for your career, I'm your manager, your agent, and we need to make money, we need to make you famous, we need to make you profitable. And on the other side, I'm your mom, I'm trying to protect you, you need to go to school, you need to have an education, be stable, and become the best version of yourself that you can be. It's sad. It's sad. And like you said, Megan, it also makes me feel uneasy.
Well, for me, the scariest part of a lot of this, and I'm gonna go off something that Meg just said. For me, for each of my children, the first time I ever put a picture of them online was at their high school graduation. That was the first time. Because in my mind, it was appropriate for the world to see one of their first big accomplishments. Now, I know there's kids that play t-ball and they do all these other great things and whatever else, but I personally don't think most of that's appropriate. At the same time, with somebody like this character we're talking about, I think one of the difficult parts for me is that you have somebody who grew up with a camera in their face, and so just sort of expects it all the time. And then if that amount of time ever tends to dwindle a little bit will do anything to get the camera back in their face. And that, I think, from what I've read now, again, I don't know this person. I have not sat down and interviewed this person, but from what I see, it seems like this person just keeps making these conscious decisions to keep herself popular, and to keep herself in the limelight. And I think that is a growing trend, not only in our country, but around the world. But I also think it's a really unhealthy trend for people, that they're willing to do anything and to say anything to make sure that they are in the spotlight, that they're getting the clicks, they're getting the hits, and then ultimately they're getting the money. I mean, I think that's what a lot of it boils down to, is the money. Now, I think there's something that maybe internally these people get from getting the clicks and the hits. I don't doubt that. I think we're all human beings. If we all put a picture on Instagram, it makes us a little happy when our friends like it, right? I mean, that's how the world is right now. But I just believe this. I mean, and let's face it, that's effing weird, and I'm the grumpy old man of the group. I think that shit is really unhealthy for people. I think people should do things for themselves because they want to, and that being able to share it with other people should just be kind of, the hot fudge on top of the sundae. It shouldn't be the whole sundae. You can still have the ice cream and the nuts and everything else, but having people like it can just be a little extra dollop of hot fudge when you go to Dairy Queen. It shouldn't be everything. And I'm genuinely afraid for the world in, say, like the next 20 years. I'm genuinely afraid.
I agree. I have no clue how it's gonna look like, even just social media broadly. I'm not sure what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, and with JoJo Siwa specifically, it seems like all she knows. And that, I don't know. I mean, I'm off my so many topics.
Oh, Megan, you were cutting off and now you're muted.
I was just doing something.
Oh, I can barely hear you now. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, so with JoJo Siwa, I feel like this is the only option that she's aware of is being in the spotlight. Because it's such a young age. It's just like child actors, how they eventually go on. Either they become successful actors in some way, or musicians, or whatever, or they take a lot of drugs and die.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that, automatically my mind goes to Amanda Bynes and other child actors that have just had a very difficult life. Incredibly sad and tragic.
Well, I think it's interesting how we see all these things and all these people. And we talked a little bit earlier about her, her purported net worth being around $20 million, and how, that's more money than most of us are ever going to see in our entire lives. But I would hazard to guess that if myself and Lily and JoJo Siwa were all to go to a doctor and be analyzed, something tells me that both Lily and I would be probably happier than JoJo Siwa. And that's just, well, but it's ultimately just sad, because it tells me that all these things that these people work for are not really actually improving their lives. It is more of, and I think you keep saying it, and it's kind of becoming a theme. It's detrimental, right? So it's, these people put all this effort in, and I'm not saying these people aren't working hard for their product. And it's not a function of whether I think their product is good or not. The little bit that I looked at tonight, it was like, obviously not for me. But I'm not the core audience, so I get that. But it's like, you do all these things, and I would hazard to guess that you're probably still not super happy. And that just kind of is sad. It's like, so, but so much of it, and I can't get away from this, there's so much in this, the pageantry, dance mom, whatever, cheer squad, whatever else, that just seems at its core kind of grimy and dirty, like kind of yucky. Like, and we talked about it before about parents trying to live vicariously through their children, or trying to build maybe what they see as their own legacy. But it's getting more and more shocking the lengths that a parent will go to do that. And a lot of it's just friggin' gross. Just gross.
It is. It's very hard to reconcile. Try to make sense out of all of this. I'm unsure how much nowadays with the most current rebranding, how much her mom is involved. But again, Jesselyn has always been hovering around, and I think she has a pretty big part into how JoJo sees her options, what's possible available to her, what's the next step to, and again, I'll continue on her story and her career, but it seems like every now and then she'll try to push out of those boundaries, but I hate to say it, but it's more of the same. For example, right after she leaves Dance Mom, she will start a music career, releasing 2 songs in 2016. She will go on a tour 2 years later with very promising music career. She makes her debut as a judge on So You Think You Can Dance. And she'll return 2 years later once again to be a judge. And she's always, trying to just push the boundaries, do things again, rebrand. She's going to continue her music career. Most recently, she released a song called Karma. You can listen to it on Spotify, on YouTube. I'm sure on other platforms too, but it was just released yesterday. I don't want to be a party pooper, but the stats are horrible. Last I look, we were looking at over 400,000 thumbs down, dislikes, for 90,000 thumbs up or likes on YouTube. This is kind of not great. But before continuing on the most recent part of her life, I just wanted to cover a little bit the controversies that she's been a part of in her career. First of all, I'm going to give it to her. She's been, in my opinion, a good icon and role model for the LGBTQIA plus community when she came out. I believe in 2021. She's, in my very uninformed opinion, she seemed the most happy during that time. So she, of course, had a little problem with her Nickelodeon partnership when she came out and cut her hair. Suddenly she wasn't invited to the Kids Choice Award. So that's been just interesting to witness. And before that, she'd been incredibly successful with the Kids Choice Award, winning in 2017 Viral Music Artist, 2018 Musical YouTuber Creator, 2019 Favorite Social Music Star, and 2020 just the same Favorite Social Music Star. But like I said, in 2021, when she came out, cut her hair and just tried something new, tried to reinvent herself, and became the adult. Suddenly she wasn't invited anymore. And it seemed like Nickelodeon seemed to distance themselves a little bit from her and her brand. And I think that's really the bottom of it, is alienating a part of her audience in the eyes of Nickelodeon, damaging, quote unquote, her brand by simply cutting her hair. To us plebeian, it means nothing to cut your hair or change your style, but I can imagine, if I try to reconcile it, I understand that it would damage her brand. But again, she's not a brand. She is a human being. She's trying to grow up, become a woman, not a teen anymore. So it's sad to see. Right after that, she was on a podcast. You may have heard of it. It was the Harry Mendel podcast. Now, you may ask, what was she with Harry Mendel? Well, we talked about Colleen Ballinger a little bit before. Very controversial character on YouTube. And they were always friendly, which is a little odd to me because I believe when they met, JoJo was 13, 14, and Colleen, she's, I want to say 15 years her older. So it's just a bit odd. Myself being 28 right now, I can't see myself having a lot in common with a 10, 12-year-old. I'm not sure I would consider them my friend per se. But again, Colleen Ballinger has had a lot of very, to keep it safe, I'm going to use protective language here, but she's had very unsavory relationships with minors, and the word grooming has been thrown to categorize those behaviors and inappropriate discussions that she's had with minors. And JoJo Siwa was in that circle. She was part of the group chats. So even if she was busy with her career, she was gravitating around that, in my opinion, unhealthy and inappropriate area of Colleen Ballinger's career. And when the controversy broke last year about Colleen Ballinger, well, JoJo Siwa took it upon herself to defend her friend. So she went on the Harry Mendel podcast and recorded just herself defending, but not only defending, but almost justifying Colleen's behavior and how she replied and responded to the controversy, to the allegations. It was interesting to see, because if I love everybody on this podcast, on That's Effing Weird, I'm very friendly with all of us. But if a story broke that one of us was involved to that extent into something that's just very illegal, I'm not sure that I would go on another podcast and just say, you know what, the internet is wrong, and they can come up with a lie and run with it. I don't think I would do that. I would do my own research. I would look at the proof. I would make sure that I have the right information, not just what my friends are giving me, with the stories that they're telling me. So I don't think it was, quote unquote, the right move for her to do that, to just go on and defend Colleen for something that is huge. And I'm not talking about one account. It's multiple alleged victims that have come forward for the past year now, and said, we've been involved with Colleen. She has had inappropriate discussions with us about our sex life, about our period, about sending us, quote unquote, gifts, sending lingerie to underage kids. That's insane to me. So to go on to defend Colleen, I'm not sure where that came from. It doesn't make sense to me at all.
I can tell you where it came from. That's easy. Mm-hmm. Knowing these people and what their motivations are. Where it came from was not being left out of the story, and giving people more content to click on and to watch and to generate ad revenue and to do all those other associated things. Because I think your point is very well put, Lily, that if
Thank you.
On this podcast something was said about somebody, my first step would be to shut the fuck up. That would be my first. Say nothing. Let things settle. And then if there was a point where I was asked, it would be no comment. And then it would be to go to that person and say, you know what? We're friends. We have a close bond. We are in on a thing together. What the hell is going on? And I would hope in this world, I'm the kind of person where all I have is what I do and what I say. And what I say usually backs up what I do, and what I do usually backs up what I say. And if people are not going to give you that same level of respect, well, then from my perspective, it's okay to just go, nope, I'm done. And I would never participate in a conversation about somebody else in the interest of only getting clicks and getting all that stuff. I would never do that because I think it's disrespectful. It's shallow as hell. And I don't think as time goes on, it paints you in the best light, because then you just seem like a money grubber. And I don't want to be, and for the millions of dollars that we're making off of it, that's effing weird. I mean, and let's be honest here, we're all getting richer by the day. It's great. I don't want to be somebody who plays that game and either lies or tells half truths or anything else about somebody else. I mean, I'm going to leave it to somebody else to speak for themselves. And because it isn't my place, I don't know the ins and outs of somebody else's life. So I think these people that do that and that are, asked for a comment and actually give one are the shallowest and shittiest of all the people. I think in a certain extent, they're actually shallower and shittier than the people that are being accused of something. I mean, if somebody is a victim of someone else's, I don't even know what the right word for it is, because this is just all. I want to shower right now. Some of this is so yucky. But if someone else is a victim, I mean, I think a victim has a right to speak out. But as somebody who's an associate, I don't have any rights. I just need to be quiet, keep my mouth shut.
I totally agree with that. And I think if I was able to, talk to JoJo, I would tell her, no, don't. What are you doing? What is that doing first to your image to defend Colleen, no matter how close you are to her? But then I'm like, okay, is it how deep is JoJo into Colleen's manipulation? Is it manipulation? Was she groomed herself by Colleen? That's the kind of question that come to mind, because to be so fervently defending Colleen on a public platform, saying that she's done great work for the internet and that she's an incredibly creative person. Okay, but that's not your place to talk about those allegations, though. Right now, you're putting your career on the line, your values. Truly, I wish that she didn't go on that podcast. I think it really was a miss.
Well, it's pretty easy. Do you have... No, go ahead, Meg. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that coffee thing was so bizarre. I watched a couple of videos about it, and I decided for myself I didn't personally care that much, because I thought that Colleen lady was kind of just cringe anyways, for her content from like old YouTube days, so I just wasn't down for that. But there's this problem where people overshare too much information nowadays, it seems, on social media, on YouTube. And like, yeah, you're right, Lily, it is a miss for JoJo to go on that podcast. Like, you should just, like Brian House was saying, keep your mouth shut, step back, analyze everything for yourself, talk to this person being accused, if that's gonna and make a decision from there on out how it's back. There's also this problem of everybody wanting to please everybody. And we're in like their audience forcing them in the direction. And that's what I like, if they don't say anything, they're a bad person because they are associated with this person. Like, no. Like, they just don't have all the facts, and it's a really uncomfortable situation. And it's somebody that you're supposed to be friends with. Like, if that happened to me in my first time, I would not dare their. But I don't know. It's just bizarre that people just put everything out for the public, where there's no faith that should be handled behind some person. It was like that whole around there's an incident that happened that said, like, there's the James Charles thing that happened years
Mhm.
ago, back in like 2019. But there was another incident that happened with a YouTuber called Pro Jared and some other YouTuber. It's just other people that I was aware of or followed in some capacity. And it was about essentially this Pro Jared guy had an affair with this other person, who was also like kind of a YouTuber or social media personality.
Mhm.
And like Pro Jared's like now ex-wife decided to just blast it all over the internet. And it was just a and I'm like, this is something that should have stayed offline. This is something that should have stayed offline. Now calling situation and like JoJo, I mean, there's kids involved, calling to be and like handled appropriately by the authorities if that is what was going on. But yeah, people need to keep their mouth shut, like for instance.
Well, I think that's the whole thing ultimately is
Mhm.
that if you are a victim of someone else's weird dalliances, I think you have a right to speak. If you are the accused perpetrator, I think you have a right to speak. If you're somebody who is a friend of either one of those, you have no rights. Shut the fuck up. Okay? And I don't care how much money you or how many clicks or how much ad revenue. People need to, and I'm going to say this very clearly and concisely so everybody can understand it. Mind your own fucking business. And I don't think that is a thing that people are any good at anymore. People don't mind their own business. Now, okay, if you see somebody getting robbed or mugged or shot or carjacked or whatever else, by all means, interject where you have to, okay? Do what is right. But giving a comment or giving an interview because someone's willing to pay you is not what is right. And maybe I look at this whole thing and I'm going to be the grumpy old guy. I look at this whole thing and all this stuff, all this dance moms and all this stuff is so creepy and it's just so yucky. And I'm going to call it what it is. It's hypersexualization of people that have no business being hypersexualized. Okay? We should hypersexualize movie actresses and we should hypersexualize adult film stars because one of them is meant to be and the other one is a dream. And some of that's kind of okay. But when you have a 6-year-old kid doing a dance competition, I'm sorry, it's just fucking gross. It's just gross. And I struggle to understand why a mother would allow it. A mother, specifically, why a mother would allow it. And now I don't know what's going on in their heads. There's clearly something wrong. There's something off. And every guy in the world has been out in the world and been walking down the street and looking at the girl ahead of him and been like, whew, that looks pretty decent. And it turns around and it's 14 years old and you're like, oh, fuck. God damn it. And now I need a shower and I just feel gross. But there's people that make a living off of doing it. Seems like just that. Like taking something that's not meant to be sexualized and sexualizing it. This dance competition thing, and we talked a little bit earlier about JonBenet Ramsey. The whole thing has always just given me the creeps. And I don't know how to have it not give me the creeps. And it's one of those rare things where I have a lot of trouble giving the parents and especially the mothers a pass, because the first thing you're supposed to do as a parent is protect your kids. And when you're doing the polar opposite, it's hard for me to, give you any leeway at all. I'm sorry, Lily, we're completely hijacking your thing here.
No, fine. It unfortunately or fortunately, it's very related to some of the points in JoJo's career. Most recently, about a month, 6 weeks ago, she was back into the limelight, into the dramasphere. Her name was mentioned in a Rolling Stone article, um, her latest business adventure was to create a group, a band of young entertainers that was also sort of a reality TV show. It was kind of this in-between line that created a lot of issues for the contestant and for JoJo as well, admittedly. So the group was called XOMG Pop, and it's been created in 2021 by Jesseline, JoJo's mom, and by JoJo. It was 7 young girls with JoJo's branding. So imagine the whole thing, sequence, sparkles, bows, all the colors of the rainbow, really just over the top, copy paste JoJo's branding on this group. It was moderately successful, but while their music side and the filming videos and doing all that was sort of successful, the background behind the scene was absolutely not okay. Just an environment that's festering with abuse, verbal abuse, being overworked, risks for some of the girls' health, just all of it, in my opinion, needs to be in a bag and thrown in the ocean. It was really, really bad. The one of the girls from the group XOMG Pop that broke the story out is called Leah Sanderson. You may have heard her name again if you're on YouTube watching, listening to quote-unquote drama videos. She's a young girl that joined the XOMG Pop group in 2021 when she was 14. And she suffers from a medical condition that's called spina bifida. My apologies if I butchered that. From what I read online, it's a congenital birth defect, and it results in the failure of your spinal cords to form properly. I would advise not looking pictures up of this medical condition. It's pretty gruesome. So do with that information what you will. But it just generally seems very painful, very debilitating. But Leia, the girl of the story, she seems wonderful. She seems to be striving for greatness, and just generally trying her best, which I really commend, because I can only imagine multiple surgeries, going through, trying to pursue her dreams, which are related to dance, of course, and performing, and just trying to be a teenager, living your dreams. It must be incredibly difficult to do that with health conditions that serious. And she was telling Rolling Stone, that simply the working conditions were unacceptable on the set of XOMG Pop. And she was telling in that article that you can find online that she had to rehearse a few times a week, but long hours, being yelled at, insulted, sometimes by JoJo herself, sometimes by her mom. And it was just not an environment you would want any 14-year-old to be in. And of course, before surgery, she would still have to be present and train and record and make their social media post and be present, because the implicit or explicit threat was that she would lose her place. She would be eliminated and she would be let go from the group. So Leia's mom and herself and Leia tried to stay in and put their best foot forward and participate and train. Before a surgery she was going to have, she stated that she was told to continue training even if she had a wound on her belly button and started to bleed. But JoJo's mom told her to continue train and rehearse and simply put a maxi pad on it to protect her costume. Are you kidding me? What kind of mother, what kind of woman, what kind of human says that? Clearly she must be in some sort of pain or something is wrong if her belly button is bleeding, not even thinking about her health condition. Who would say such a thing? It's mind-boggling. I could not believe it when I read that online. I'm so disappointed in the production, in JoJo's mom, in JoJo herself for allowing this to happen. If this is the tip of the iceberg, what haven't we heard about? What are the other things that the girls have been put through that we don't know? It's truly a thing of nightmares, in my opinion. She explains that for just about 2 years, it was 2 years of just physical and mental strain, verbal abuse. JoJo behind the scene would play favorites, would pin them against each other, insult them, and just generally being a monster. I can't help but be making the connection with Abby Lee Miller from Dance Mom, which was holy crap. She was not a great person towards those daughters or their moms. She was just rude. She was yelling. She was demeaning. And it seems that now JoJo and her mom are perpetuating this very toxic, detrimental environment. Why?
Well, so it does beg the question, Lily, and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna go back to the being a parent. Where was this child's parent?
The mom was with her.
Okay, so that I would say, and this is
Mhm.
just me as a parent, that that parent failed miserably. Okay, because the first person's job it is to look out for a kid is the parent. So if the parent allowed any of that to happen, it sounds terrible. I'm going to blame the parent. The parent should have stepped in and done something. But is this another one of those parents who is hoping to be able to live their life vicariously through their kid and hope their kid achieves some level of greatness that the parent never did, and the parent's life is just that pathetic? Now, the part the part that bugs me the most about this is that you have somebody that has some challenges and is working their ass off to overcome them. Those are the people we should be celebrating. The people that are working their butts off to overcome a challenge. And spina bifida it's not like a sprained ankle, okay? That's a big freaking deal. And somebody who is working their tail off to become a dancer or to become a part of a pop group while having spina bifida, those are the people that we should be celebrating, not the, and I'm just going to say it now, not the dipshits like JoJo Siwa. JoJo Siwa is just one more person in a line of kind of just dipshits that got kind of good at something and was able to market and do whatever else. We should be celebrating the people that are actually trying to overcome something and trying to like get into the world and make their mark. And for all these people that are saying, oh, they were abusive and they were this and they were that. I mean, okay, let's be honest here. We're talking about show business, right? And maybe not a super elevated level of show business, but we're talking about show business. And if we've learned nothing from all of the actors that we have all watched as we've grown up, it takes a great deal of energy, a great deal of sacrifice, and a great deal of focus to be the best. And like I watch my wife who goes out and does her ballet classes and then comes home and puts band-aids on her toes and puts ice packs on her ankles. And it's like, why do you do this? And she's like, I do it because I like it. And it's like, so for me, that's enough. It's like, I don't get it necessarily, but that's enough. Okay, that's what you're doing. I'll get the ice packs for you. So to be great in anything takes a great deal of sacrifice. And I'm going to admit now, I don't know to what level sacrifice is okay, but I think people that want to be great are willing to sacrifice. But when you have all these kids in there and their mothers, I think that's the piece that really messes this all up, where I can't tell fiction from reality and who's doing what and for what purpose. And that's honestly why I think the whole excuse me, the whole pageant thing and all this stuff should just be like nothing short of outlawed, because it just seems it's a lot of people with a lot of conflicting ideas and a lot of conflicting goals. And to your point, things that are detrimental to kids ultimately. And kids shouldn't have anything in their life that's detrimental. They should just have butterflies and rainbows and dandelions, and they should just be able to play and have fun and just grow up in this whole trying to make the next great superstar thing. Is just not good for anybody.
Obviously, I've yet to find a group, a band, a TV show, a setting where it's done in a healthy way. You know, fostering the talents and the passion, the dreams of those kids. It seems to just attract the worst behaviors. Mm-hmm. It is so heartbreaking to see. I was reading through Leah's story about her medical condition and just about how she's suffered for so long being a teen growing up, doing surgery after surgery. It's truly heartbreaking to see that. Seemingly, this is the next big step. This is how she could make it big, and still she's going to be in this environment of being hurt, being under physical, mental strain, and I'm afraid to think about what would have happened if she missed a surgery because a rehearsal went over a little longer, or because if there was a competition or something. It's scary to think about that. I was trying to read a little bit more about her mother because I'm having trouble understanding why she didn't have the freedom or the opportunity to take themselves out of this situation. It seems that the production of XOMG Pop, JoJo, and JoJo Siwa interchangeably, to some extent, had a financial hold over the mothers and the families that participated into this XOMG Pop, to the extent of, just to make ends meet, some of the moms reached out to Jesseline, JoJo Siwa's mother, to ask her if they could do anything to earn some kind of money. From what I was reading online on the Rolling Stone article, it came down to them organizing JoJo Siwa's closet for $20. This is hard to reconcile, that it would come down to that. I truly wish that there was a way for Leah's mother and Leah to be out of this situation sooner than they did. 2 years of enduring that is, my heart aches for them so much. I'm glad they're out of it. I'm sorry they went through it. It's just, I don't think that anybody is winning in this situation.
No, I think you're right. And I don't know what we do about this culture that we built. I think both here in the United States and honestly around the world, of somehow being seen or being commented or being quote unquote liked is our validation for our life. Now, I think it's okay if it's a little bit of it. But I think when it becomes your whole life, I think you're A, living a lie, and I think B, you're missing out on so many other great things. And when it comes to, oh boy, I don't know, your creativity or your voice, I think people need to spend less time following things like TikTok or Instagram and trying to figure out what's the next way that they can get likes and clicks and whatever else. And they need to figure out what they actually like and what they think is fun to do. I know for Lily, you like to sing, I know for Seth likes to go into his bunker and experiment with chemicals that he injects in his body.
To each their own.
Damn right. I know our buddy Clark is a musician and likes to play the guitar. Him and I have had some pretty deep conversations about the guitar. You know,
He's a great writer too.
He definitely is. But he's also a little bit like me, where he's a little bit of a nerd and likes to collect toys, even though grown men shouldn't. But like, you know, I like to make things. Making things is fun. I made a Hellraiser cube because I could.
Ooh,
Okay?
you opened the box.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think people should in general focus a lot less on what the internet tells them to do. And spend a little time, take a retreat from the social media bullshit and do some exploration into your inner self and see what it is that you like, what you actually like to do. And sometimes you've got to pick up a hammer, or you've got to pick up a shovel, or you've got to pick up, and you just got to find a place that makes you happy. Happiness is never going to come at the end of Instagram or TikTok or Twitter. It's never going to come there. I'm sorry. It's just not going to. So it's one of those things where you need to do a little bit of reevaluation. The odd part about JoJo Siwa, and it's a little piece of me that sort of envies her, because she's had so much exposure, she is in a place where she can do and try anything. And if there's anything to envy about her, it is that she has the ability to do and try anything, all while being able to pay her mortgage and buy groceries. That's maybe the thing to envy. I watched her video for Karma today, and it was awful. It was just awful.
Oh, goodness.
You could literally hear the auto-tune in the song. You could hear it.
Oh, she's so processed, over-processed. It's sad.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's a little piece of me that likes the fact that she had the guts to do it, you know, and she just got to do what she wanted. The hardest part of that is that we don't all necessarily have those opportunities where we can all make a really horseshit music video because we wanted to. But I would say to anyone who's listening, it also doesn't mean that you can't go out and do a really kick-ass home repair, or you can't do a really kick-ass modification to your car, or you can't make a kick-ass drawing or a kick-ass painting or write a kick-ass poem. So just like find a thing that you like. You know, maybe you're a kick-ass cook. Maybe just don't think that social media is going to tell you what you're good at, and stop. I plead with everybody, stop looking to social media to be your life's validation, because it's not. Okay? You can only find validation from within. That's the only place that it's going to come from. And if you continue to seek it out through external means, you might end up as JoJo Siwa. And in 20 years, when every girl that was 13 years old at the time ends up with eyebrow cancer from your terrible makeup and you're getting sued out the ass, well, then enjoy that too, right? This is going to sound terrible coming from me because this is not something I normally would say, but I'm going to say it and I'm going to mean it. Be true to yourself. Find something that you enjoy. Find something that you like. And don't be afraid to try new things. Now, don't try what's trendy, okay? Because trendy is almost always bad. And I think JoJo Siwa, with her new video and who she's trying to rebrand herself is showing that trendy is not good.
And that would be just about the last point I have in my notes. Her latest attempt to reinvent herself. I do think that she's put a great deal of effort into it. It started right around the time when the XOMG Pop story broke out. So if that's related, I'll let you make the connection there. But she tried something new. She now has a sleeve of tattoo on her arms. She's trying a new style. She cut her hair, styling herself just a little bit differently to rebrand, reinvent herself, which I commend that. And she was, giving us little teasers on her social media and sending us warning. This is going to be explicit content. This is not for kids. I'm a grown up now. And I commend that she's trying. I will say that it felt maybe just a little too manufactured, too controlled. You can see the marketing. This isn't 2012, 2013 when Miley Cyrus just went, fuck it. I guess I'm just going to shave my hair and start licking things. This feels but for what it was very effective. Good for her, because she's become an even bigger star than she was at the time, but
She got out of all this Disney contracts.
mhm. Trying to sever her ties from, the girl Hannah Montana, the girl next door, to I'm an adult, I'm going to be a pop star, I'm going to be a superstar. And I mean, she did it. Granted, it was a shock when that happened, swinging around a wrecking ball. But it was very effective. It was done wonderfully and masterfully. I don't think JoJo has achieved that level of precision. It feels very manufactured, and I'm not sure that it's going to be very effective. She just released, like you said, Grindhouse, a song yesterday. And I feel like, and I know she's put effort into it, obviously, to write the lyrics, make a music, the melody, all of it, shooting the video, ideating on it, the marketing, the makeup, the costumes. I understand it. It's a lot of resources, it's a lot of effort, but I'm not sure. I feel like it's much of the same. I'm not sure that she changed anything. It feels to me, in my very uneducated eyes, that she's just JoJo Siwa with black glitter instead of rainbow glitter, in my opinion. Her last appearances have been black sequins, black sparkles, black makeup, but it still feels very much her younger self in a costume, gearing up for a dance competition, trying to make her mom and Abby Lee Miller happy. I'm not sure I buy the reinventing myself from the ground up, trying to pull a 2013 Miley Cyrus. I'm not sure that it's working for me. On YouTube, the video for her song that came out yesterday, it's kind of a flop. Last time I looked at it, the stats were not great. The song was not great either, in my opinion. The music video, I think, was the nail in the coffin. What was that dry humping stuff? I'm sorry, but I have to say it. Go watch the video, like it if you enjoyed it, but I'm not sure that it's for me. I'm not sure that it works. So yeah, I don't know that it's going to be a very effective rebranding from JoJo Siwa. If, and that's a big if the point of this big change, going crazy, is to kind of push away those allegations that broke out a couple months ago. Okay, I understand. But it's still not very effective. I'm not sure that it's going to stick. I feel like in 6 months, we're going to have yet another rebranding. Maybe this time we'll get white glitter and white sequins. I'm not sure that I buy it. I still commend her effort. She's trying, like you said, Grindhouse. She's trying something new. She has the luxury, the resources to do so. I just don't buy it.
Well, I don't either, and I think you said it perfectly, Lily, that the whole thing is manufactured, right? And so me being the person that I am, like I don't care if JoJo Siwa falls off the earth. I don't care. It's not going to affect my life. But I think that she would have, like, if she would have sat down in front of a mirror and made a video of her taking the bow out of her hair, brushing her hair out and sitting down and going, you know what? I'm grown up now. I need to do something different. I think as an audience, and when I say audience, I mean the Earth, would have taken that much better than, hey, look, I'm queer now because it's trendy. I'm gonna do this super hyper sexual video now because it's trendy. And I'm gonna swear and be irreverent because it's trendy. It's like I think you nailed it. I can't say more than that. It's manufactured. It's completely manufactured and it's completely fake. If you want to be a person, then sit down and be a person. Okay? It's like when we sit down and do this podcast, and especially before we record the show, and we're all like talking and we're talking about, like, I mean, when you and I first started talking tonight, the first thing you said to me is, how has your week been? Okay? And what you did that. But there isn't anything more real than that. How was your week? And then we talked about where I work, where your husband works, and the companies that were bought and sold. I mean, but that's what real is. And so much of social media now is so fake. And now I get that it's supposed to be a little bit of a distraction from life, but I think people are often, they take the two and they mix them together and confuse what's real and what's not real. And I'm okay with the distraction, but if you're gonna take yourself and rebrand yourself and be something completely new, hey, cool. Do what you're gonna do. You be you, but don't give it to me in this pomp and circumstances, this weird black and white glitter splashing on the beach like you think you're the creature from the Black Lagoon thing. Like it didn't make, like it didn't. Like I had no opinion of you before, and now my opinion is slid into the negative. So it's like, what are you doing? But just so much of this stuff, and I think I'm being honest when I say this. I'm not a social media person. I do little things here and there, and it's mostly on the things that I make because I made it with my own hands. You know, I'm not going to take something somebody else made and put a comment on it and call it social media, because it's not. That's not an actual thing. It's just, you know, I don't put my opinions on things on social media because I don't think anybody cares. And for the most part, they don't. But when you're someone who is prolific as her, it's like, if you're going to be impactful, do something real. Don't give me more of this manufactured bullshit, because your shit has been manufactured since you were like 6 years old. It's like, if you want to be honest, just be honest. I'm okay with that. And if I don't agree with you, fine. But I'll tell you what, I'll appreciate the fact that you were honest.
Yeah, that's about the conclusion that I came to as well when I was reaching, you know, the last post, the last pictures that I was finding about JoJo after her song came out. She's still so young. She's gonna turn 21 next month. And if there was any, you know, hypothetically, if I was talking to JoJo, I would tell her that I appreciate all she's been through. I can see that she's a hard worker. I just wish that she took a break, because I think that she comes off a little bit in the interviews that I was watching as very conceited, very full of herself. She may not be like that, but that's the character that she's showing, and that's what she's showing the world. And we don't even see her dancing. She's an incredible dancer, but that's not what you see. You see an entertainer that's wearing black glitter and crazy stuff, and, you know, warning, explicit content. I'm gonna say the B word, but I'm not gonna say the F word. It's just so confusing. I wish she took a break. I wish she took a break from her social media, her public presence, refocus, come back to me in a year. And you know what? If you want to pop out an acoustic album or something, or if you want to just write a series of poems and just push out a book because you spend a year in the forest somewhere and you finally recentered and found yourself, I would appreciate that a lot more. That honesty that you mentioned, Grindhouse, is what is missing. I'm not buying it because I'm not sure it's real. Yeah.
Well,
I think that was the conclusion I reached.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, show me your talent. Don't show me the fact that you have someone who's willing to throw money at your lack of talent. Yeah, just honesty. Just be a person. But there's a piece of me that thinks that she probably doesn't know how to do that because she has spent so much of her life in front of a camera. It's difficult to just be an actual person. And that with a lot of what she does and the circles she's run in, there's always an agenda. And trying to keep that agenda either buried or in the limelight, depending on the agenda, is become what she's done. And when it comes to a place where there's an opportunity to highlight talent, it's like it's not happening, you know. And I'm sure this young lady has some talents. I have no doubt of that. Like some of the dancing I've seen and like the moves that she makes, it's like I'd be paralyzed if I tried that. So I mean, I think that you have it. I mean, and you're only 20 years. I mean, that's maybe the biggest thing is you're 20 years old. Okay. You probably have somewhere around 60 years of life left to live. So what do you want to do with that? And do you want to spend your time on social media and, you know, pushing an agenda and pushing a brand and doing whatever else? Or do you just want to like be happy and like hang out and have fun and do whatever else? And with the amount of money that she has, the reality is, I mean, I don't think I could spend $20 million. I don't think I could. It's like, so you honestly don't have to worry for the rest of your life. So assuming that you don't have to worry, you don't have to get up and go to a 9-to-5 job and pay your taxes and pay your water bill and do whatever else. What would you do with that time? Like for me, I'd go into my shop and I would just create the weirdest things because I could, you know? So, I mean, like take advantage of the advantage you have, you know, and be yourself. Don't be this weird, fake ass, terrible music video making person. Just be honest with yourself first and then be honest with your fans second. And I think if you did that, you probably would keep some of your fans because it seems like right now people are like, I don't think so. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
Exactly. We'll see. I'm sure that she has a lot to unpack to come to that, you know, that honesty, I'm sure. I can only imagine that after all of her work in her youth, and I'm sure she's been through quite a lot, and I hope somehow that she's having some kind of professional help to work through that. Because it can't be easy or healthy to be at 120% all of the time. It can't. It can't. Clearly, she's being in those controversies that we heard, treating young dancers, treating kids very badly, something that to some extent she's been through, and she's perpetuating that. So I hope that at some point someday she recognizes that she has some work to do, and if she can just refocus and just really work on herself, go back to the root, to your talent, to your dance, and she'll find her people. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And with all of this, it's like, and this honestly, it has to be a social media thing that I don't understand, and I'm ultimately okay with that. I don't have to, you know, reinvent myself every single day. I just have to do my part. And I know that being, you know, a commercialized star, because if you've had toys in Target, you're a commercialized star. You might as well just accept that. But trying to reinvent yourself as a combination of a WWE wrestler / Pink is like, I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Kiss.
Yeah, definitely /Kiss. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, do what you're going to do, but I still have this thing where it's like, just, you know, find a way to be yourself and find a way what actually makes you happy, and maybe don't succumb to this just constant pressure of like having to be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Because being relevant is not what makes you awesome. Being awesome is what makes you awesome. So if you want to be awesome, do that, because the people that really like you, even if it cuts your followers down, I mean, oh, that'd be terrible, right? But I would rather be happy and doing what I like to do and have 6 people think it's awesome than to be unhappy and to have 6 million people think it's awesome. So maybe that's just me, but you know, she seems to be a talented young lady that has had a lot of terrible influences on her life, and has a lot of people telling her that being popular is the only way to win. And I hope she puts that aside and just finds a way to be her, because I think she could do some interesting things, you know?
I agree. She's incredibly talented, so I'm sure that we'll see great things from her. We'll just have to see.
Well, absolutely. And the one thing we'll have to remember, if she's taught us anything, she's taught us that karma is a bitch.
You know it.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And remember, we don't like things that are normal. We like things that are effing weird, including JoJo Siwa and her giant bows. See y'all next time.